so that we don't have any interruptions during the meeting. All right, that being said, it's 5 o'clock. We're going to call the meeting to order. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Hi. Jessica, you want to introduce?
We have a new commissioner. This is Jenna Dees. She was appointed at the city council meeting a week ago. She'll be joining us as long as she likes. Well,
Alan says he can't hear you.
No, I can hear you, but I don't think they can.
Okay.
we have a lady commissioner tonight. Her name is Jenna Dees.
We're not used to playing to such a large
No.
crowd, so we'll try to speak up a little louder this evening so that you can hear it. Thank you, Jessica. Next item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes of the February 21st, 2023 meeting.
We'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the February 21st, 2023 meeting. I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second.
DeGrand,
Yes.
McLean,
I was absent last meeting.
Calvin,
Yes,
Parks.
Yes.
Mallard. Yes. Upshaw.
Yes.
Dees. Stay.
all right. The next item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing for consideration and vote to recommend approval of the zoning map amendment, 302 North Oak. Brady Brothers LLC is the applicant. I will take a motion to open the public hearing.
I would make a motion if we open the public hearing.
I'll second.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All approved, same sign. Okay,
Okay, so we are all here tonight. I have a memo put together. We do have the applicant and his realtor here with us tonight. So what I have put together was based on application information submitted. Prior to going over that, if either one of you gentlemen would like to just kind of give a brief overview of what your plan is. If there's any changes as to what was originally submitted with that.
Okay, you can, my name is Eric Calvin. I'm glad to be here. I'm with Platinum Realty, representing Brady Brothers.
would you mind stepping up there? No, you're fine.
Formerly, we were seeking a rezoning for multifamily. Seems as though most of the buyer interest was for high-end condos, apartments. However, in the last couple of days, we've had a change in direction. We are under contract today, as of yesterday, seeking event space, wedding venue. And after Ike speaks, I would love to introduce Blake Harris. He's with Haven Event Space. They currently run a beautiful space in Lewisburg. And so that's the kind of direction we're going to go for today. So hopefully that'll kind of put minds at ease and kind of move us in the right direction.
Thanks, Eric. Everyone, my name is Ike Brady. I represent Brady Brothers LLC. Pardon me for the stiff movement. I haven't pinched nerve in my neck, so if I frown, it's not that I'm in it. As Eric said, Brady Brothers is an LLC. We formed it. We grew up in Osawatomie, so we're local. We originally bought this building about 10 years ago with the idea that we would do some kind of event space or a daycare center or preschool in it. As we looked at the cost bringing up the safety code, we delayed that. And then we came back a few years later. Actually, I think we made an application for a CUP, but we pulled that back. And we came back a couple of years later And then by that time, there were so many events, event locations in southern Johnson County, Miami County. We decided that we couldn't be competitive, so we basically tabled that idea also. And since then, we've had a few interested buyers. I think in the packet you see was one buyer that, to Eric's point, they were looking at multi-family dwellings and those kind of things. And some retail, some stores and other things. Well, that offer came off the table. And since then, a couple of days ago, we've signed a contract with Haven to look at selling it to them to open up an event center. And as I said, and what's in the packet, Brady Brothers LLC, we like to vet through a realtor all buyers to make sure that whatever we're going to enter into as a contract are people that are truly concerned about the neighborhood and the people in the surrounding areas, retaining some green space, just making sure that it's something that fits into the city's long-term plans as to what you all want to be here. So with that said, I don't know if, Alan, if you want to come up and speak, or if Hayden, you all want to speak to what your plans are. Whatever you prefer.
If I may,
Sure. Good, Alan.
doing a little speculating here. Alan Hire, Triangle Builders. If this gets to a point where, and I'm kind of speaking out of turn, but in order to try and resolve this issue today, resolve this issue next month, if this becomes an item that possibly needs to have further discussion, in my mind, and it's just me, I think it would be best if you could table it, figure out what some compromises might be, maybe some changes in the LDO to accommodate the citizens as well as the applicant. Again, just my comment, for whatever that's worth. Thank you.
I have a question. If kind of changing, I would say, I would like to hear if
Sure.
this is gonna move forward, what their thoughts or plans,
Yeah.
intentions.
Well, for those of you guys that don't know me, my name is Blake Harris. I'm the owner of the Haven Event Space in Lewisburg, Kansas. We are a high-end wedding and event venue at 247th and State Line. We opened in the fall of 2021, so we've only been open about a year and a half. I think one of the biggest things, obviously, I wasn't expecting to be here 48 hours ago. This property, I'm gonna be fully transparent with you guys. I was pursuing Town Square. I had full intentions and was under contract on that property last year to purchase that space. After having inspections done, it was in really, really bad condition, just to put it lightly. To the point where financially, at 6 months into my current venue, it wasn't an option. We're a year later now. And Kansas is doing a grant, for those of you guys that aren't aware, called the Sprint Grant. It's a $40 million tourism grant to increase tourism to rural areas. We applied for a $1.5 million grant as the Haven Event Space. And we intend to use that $1.5 million to build a venue in Paola was our intention. That is our full application with the support of Janet McCray of the Miami County Economic Development. That was the intention of that application, and it was listing both Town Square and, as of 2 days ago, this property. We listed both addresses as options and basically would want to dump that money from the state into that. I've received letters from the Historic Society of Paola, the city commissioner, or I believe is the head of the city commission. I'd have to look up her exact title. I apologize. The Paola Inn and the head of economic development in Miami County, and there has been nothing but overwhelming confession from those people that since Town Square is closed, there's been a massive decrease to tourism to Paola. You guys were seeing 300 to 600 guests a weekend in that space, coming from surrounding counties, bringing economic impact to your city, your restaurants, your gas stations, your hotel. Since that space is now closed, that has been an impact. So, as we've made such a positive impact on Lewisburg, since our venue's opened, again, in the spirit of full transparency, we did about 115 events our first year in business and generated over 7 figures in revenue in our business. It was extremely successful. Our goal was 35 weddings. We did 115. So, I mean, to say that there's a market for this is an understatement. There is not a lot of large competition in the area from a standpoint of high-end venues. Yes, there's small venues like community centers and the Meadowlark in Spring Hill and things like that. Those are not competitors to the Haven, and they would not be competitors to this new venue that we'd be building here, because this is going to be a very nice space. We would do it right for the community. And the intention would be to be a benefit to the city, not to be a burden, right? We are on a CUP in our current location, so I've been through this process before with the county. We have had nothing but success with our neighbors. We care about our neighbors. We care about their opinions and their lifestyles and the way they want to live. And that was an impact on the way we designed our contract with our space to make sure that everybody was happy. Little things like what time our lights go off at night, so that way it's not affecting the darkness of the country that we're in. You know, how late our events go. We only go to 11 p.m. and we're, you know, in Lewisburg in the country. Like, that's not late for a standard wedding venue. So for this space, let's talk about a couple things that I intend to do. These are my initial thoughts. Community, obviously, I'd love feedback. Nothing's set in stone. Anything can be changed at this point because it's not set in stone yet. So first and foremost, the intention would be to purchase the building and renovate the space to a high-end wedding venue similar to the Haven. Because it is a school, there is a lot of extra square footage in classrooms. So the intention of that would be to make overnight accommodations for families that travel in from out of town to stay in the building as well. We would like to put in 8-ish overnight suites where they would have everything they need on site. But again, are still using local restaurants, local stores, gas stations, things like that, bringing you know, tax revenue to you guys and economic revenue. But then we also would allow you know, the events to be done just day of. Suites would be an add-on, if you will. They don't have to stay in the suites. The space itself, kind of the initial thought for the contract would be that we would allow guests to use it during weekdays from 9 a.m. through 10 p.m. Monday or Sunday through Thursday. We would require events to end by 10 p.m. on weekdays to not disturb neighbors after those hours. And then on weekends, we would follow the same policy as our current venue, which is 9 a.m. through 11 p.m. on Fridays, Saturdays, and holidays. So we would allow, you know, for example, if 4th of July was on a Monday, that Sunday, we would allow that event to go to 11, knowing the next day was a holiday. That would be the only exception we make. We intend this to be a fully indoor venue. At the Haven, we have a beautiful outdoor space that overlooks a 5-acre lake where we do outdoor ceremonies. We don't intend on using this property at 302 North Oak to be an outdoor space. It would be fully indoors, so all the guests would be inside. With the exception of the playground that's currently on the property, we have the idea of fencing that in with privacy fences and turning that into an outdoor cocktail space. Our contract would state that all guests must exit that space by sunset every day, regardless of the day of the week. So that way, not to disturb any noise from residents around. Again, following the same thing, parking lot lighting. If there was an event that day, the lights wouldn't even come on. If there was an event that day, they would shut off at the conclusion of the event. So wouldn't be a light pollution issue to neighboring residents. The last thing I would say is, you know, our intention is to dump a lot of money, 7 figures into this building. And what that would do is that would increase the beauty of the space. We intend on redoing the outside, replacing all the windows. We would need to expand the parking lot. I heard you mention green space. You know, for a facility of this size, we could probably hold about 200, 250 guests at a normal size wedding. That's going to yield about 100, 120 cars. Right now, there's only 24 spaces on the lot, and there's street parking. I personally would not want to take up street parking for residents, so I would want to expand the parking lot on the property to not disturb the homes around. And then we want to build a drop-off roundabout in front of the building so that, again, cars are coming in and doing everything on our property, not driving around the property and messing with neighbors. So that would be the intention there. This is, again, all in 48 hours. We've come up with this stuff, so there's a lot of questions that can be answered. But I'd be happy to take questions about how we currently run our space and how we work with our clients. But ultimately, that's really all I have prepared for today.
Thank you. All right. Are there members of the public that would like to speak?
Prior to that, I just want to go over a couple of things.
Okay.
So the memo, obviously, that I put together was based on primarily the residential aspects, and that is what was submitted. I do want to note that you are correct. If at the zoning as it sits right now, NCR1, they could still apply for a CUP and process that way. Or if this goes through, they would be allowed to do it without the CUP.
So that'll fall under the assembly and worship, is that correct?
Looking at the tables, it's more of a service industry, so.
Now,
Mhm.
am I good?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, is there anybody from the general public that would like to speak this evening? If so, please step to the podium, state your name and your address.
My name is Terry Courtney. I live at 310 North Walnut. I sent a letter to each of the commissioners early, and I'm going to read it aloud as public comment. I appreciate hearing what they are saying and trying to do an event center. Ms. Jessica mentioned that can be done with the CUP. This hearing was relative to changing the zoning to thoroughfare access. That's what this is about. This letter is to advise you of a substantial concerns regarding the proposed rezoning of the property located at 302 North Oak Street, commonly known as the Old North School, from NCR1 to thoroughfare access. I live across the street to the west of the school building. The area is an older, established neighborhood that enjoys a sense of well-being, safety, security, and tranquility. People of diverse ages choose to live in the neighborhood because of those features, which epitomize the language of Kansas Statute 12-741, relative zoning authority to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. The Neighborhood Conservation District exists to protect the residential character of existing neighborhoods, of platted subdivisions that were or are being developed under previous zoning regulations. In contrast, thoroughfare access provides for high-quality, moderate-density development with a full range of residential and non-residential uses. This district shall be used in areas designated TA in the comprehensive plan. TA districts are associated with access to arterial or collector streets. Arterial or collector streets do not surround 302 North Oak or the immediate area, however. In addition, the traffic a TA zoning would invite will further diminish the structure of the current streets, increase safety issues for the many children playing in the area, and endanger adults who use the area for walking. Compounding the safety issue are the blind intersections that provide access to the area, for example, Pearl Street and Tower Street, that opens for potential vehicle and pedestrian accidents. The planning Paola 2050 comprehensive plan vision statement reads as follows. Paola has a real sense of community. It is a place of people want to come back to and raise a family and start a new life. Paola is a place where you can see the stars at night, but still access city amenities with an easy drive. Paola takes advantage of opportunities to improve its quality of life through investments in housing, parks and recreation, and access to amenities. Paola stands out against its neighbors as a place that does not provide a house but a home. In short, Paola is a place where people and business thrive. While Paola is in need of affordable housing, rezoning an existing neighborhood conservation district to appeal to an outside investor with no ties or vested interest in the community other than financial gain, goes against the guiding principle for growth and development set forth in the comprehensive plan. The community character will not be lost as the community grows because growth will be thoughtful and planned. Paola is a community on the move, but it does not forget where it came from. I ask that you weigh those considerations in your decision making and deny the request to thoroughfare access.
Thank you, Terry. Mark?
Mark Fuchs, 9 Tower Street, and I echo some of the same concerns that Terry said so well. This does change the game a little bit with the introduction of the event space, which I believe was permitted previously under the CUP. I am concerned, however, if the planning commission was on a path towards approving the map amendment to allow multifamily. I'm really concerned about the density that it would bring in terms of traffic. The corner of Tower and Pearl Street would presumably be the best access, and it's not the type of intersection that you would design to access multifamily or apartments. It's awkward at best as it is. It's at the top of a steep hill on both sides. It's narrow. You can't see if there's a pickup truck or even two full-size cars. Is, as I said, awkward at best. And so I would be concerned that the commission was on a path towards possibly recommending approval of a zoning amendment that would allow the density that would come with apartments. The event space, presumably that was looked at before, and I think as a kindergarten graduate of the North School, I would welcome it to be reutilized. It's a beautiful building. If it can be used, that's great. But if something were to change in the buyer's plans and they're to put it on the market, that's where my concern lies with it going to multifamily.
All right, thank you, Mark. Anyone else?
My name is Justin Elliott, live at 307 North Oak, and kind of like what everybody said, obviously the information that we got this afternoon kind of changes things a little bit, but like Mark just addressed, my concern and my reason for wanting to speak is the concern about changing the zoning to thoroughfare access. Just a couple things, and I sent letters to each of you that kind of expressed my concerns as well, but I'm just gonna, there's some information that I want to share and make sure that I get across. A request to change the zoning to thoroughfare access goes against the city of Paola's zoning district guidelines. Section C of the description of a thoroughfare access district specifically states, the district's intensity accommodates most community, commercial, and business activities. These non-residential uses shall be limited to parcels having access to arterial or collector streets. And this was already addressed, this was already mentioned. But I wanted to go a step farther and point out the fact that College, Walnut, Oak, and Tower Streets, which are the 4 streets that surround that property, all dead end around that property. So again, increasing traffic in that neighborhood is a concern to many of us, myself included. I'm kind of reading through some things aren't really pertinent now that we talked about this. Biggest concern, and Mark just mentioned this too, is not so much about the event space or what this plan is. But if we change the zoning to thoroughfare access, what does that open up for down the road? The property is currently zoned as NCR1, as was mentioned. And again, to reference the city of Paola zoning information under neighborhood conservation, these districts protect the residential character of existing neighborhoods. A change in zoning no longer protects our neighborhood as we know it. It goes on to say that these districts permit minor infill consistent with the existing character, but are not otherwise intended for use of new development or rezoning. Again, I'm going to repeat that last part. Not otherwise intended for use of new development or rezoning. And I mentioned this in my letters, but again, the state of Kansas gives cities zoning authority for 3 reasons: to protect public health, safety, and welfare. A concern of mine, and we've talked, several of the neighbors have expressed this, is the number of people who use that area to walk, their kids playing, those kinds of things. So you talk about safety, increasing the traffic in that neighborhood with those narrow streets with limited visibility definitely goes against the idea of protecting the safety of the neighbors. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else like to speak? step forward. Pete?
Bill, 209 North Castle, live about 3 blocks east of the school. And so far, what I've heard, the smartest statement tonight was from Mr. Hire, who suggested you put this on hold and do some more discussing. I don't know how you're gonna vote on a multi-million-dollar project now that we have all these new surprises. My personal opinion on economic development is whatever comes to this town, we should welcome. This sounds like a better deal than putting a bunch of multi-family stuff in there. Changing the zoning does seem very inappropriate because it does not protect the neighborhood now or down the road. The stuff, when you start with multi-family, you could end up with 100 people residing on that hillside. And all the things that come with that. The only, I don't know, I'm not a close neighbor, so I can't speak fairly about not wanting you there because of the noise and the light and et cetera. But I'm right where college dead end is coming eastbound. And if you're a reasonable person, you might say, well, it used to be a school. It used to have hundreds of people coming and going 5 or 6 days a week, right? But you got to look at that also and realize that the bulk of that was for 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon. Whereas in the event center, there's going to be a lot more people coming and going at a wider period of time. And what a couple of people mentioned was this traffic issue. That one corner out there on Pearl Street is an invitation to major accidents. And the only other real way out is my route, coming down College, because you got real steep hills going the other way. So you got wintertime, big problems, big accidents. People from out of town start down that hill on the ice, you have some real problems. 2 of those streets going down, there's two streets going down the hill to the south. Tremendous drop offs. And if I'm not mistaken, they're not the best streets either, smoothness wise. And this just, if you're talking about out of towners, you're unfamiliar with it. When you come down the hill toward my house is the stopping point if you miss the corner. And just this last Christmas Eve, I was out there with all the neighbors jacking a car up off the rocks and the plantings out front of Vic Lisa's house, is right next door to me. You're gonna have more of that kind of stuff going on. There's a telephone pole right there, guy wire, people who can't make the corner. I remember when it was a school, my kids went to school there, and I remember there was modest traffic in the morning, going and coming, and modest in the evening. So to get back to what I said about Allen, anytime you have an idea that comes up, it looks like a bunch of good things may have come together. I don't know about all the citizens really want it or not, but I think both sides need to be reasonable. And to me, an event center sounds like a more stable thing than a bunch of housing, a bunch of small housing, rental housing. And so, but you should look at the problems you have, traffic being one of the serious ones.
All right. Thank you, Pete. Anyone else?
Can I?
I've got 2 guys, okay. Hold on, if you'll hold for just a second. I'll let the applicant, you want to make a comment before these 2 come up
No, I want
at the end?
at the end.
Okay, go ahead. We'll get the traffic direction here and then we'll be good.
I'm Stuart Connell, live at 110 Tower Street. We've lived there for almost 30 years now, raised our family there. We all sent you letters that I hope you all read. And, it's just a family atmosphere where we live at. We have lots of kids that ride their bikes, ride around. Traffic's been mentioned. The event center was something we thought might happen, but we didn't know. Nothing was said about that. That's kind of a new thing that's come out. So I'll address the event center. It sounds very nice, I guess the one in Lewisburg is pretty good and whatnot, but it's still 11 o'clock at night. It's still lights. It's still people that are drinking, most likely, alcoholic beverages and driving around our residential streets until 11 o'clock at night, at least. So, I have a concern with that, with the kids that we have out there that play and are out till 9, 10 o'clock at night. I mean, that's just normal for kids to do it. And for even older people that walk the streets and whatnot to get a little exercise and so on. I also have, some issues with with what was said, the thoroughfare being access just being to the north of our area. Well, that thoroughfare access is down on Baptiste Drive there. I mean, okay, yes, it is. And they all have streets that connect into Baptiste Drive. So, yeah, it's a little different than our neighborhood is, as you've heard from everybody else here. I had a couple other things, but I forgot them. I'm just getting to that way. But anyway, I wanted to mention that a lot of this, I agree with most what everybody here said. I think most of the people behind us don't feel that it's a good thing to make that change to a thoroughfare access. And the other big thing I wanted to bring up is, I appreciate yours and what you said, but we don't know that his is going through. We don't know that it might be, oh, well, it's thoroughfare access now, and we fell through. Well, now what's going in? And we don't have any idea and won't have anything to say about it if that happens. And so I gotta be kind of interested. Thank you. Appreciate it.
you. Now, to the gentleman in the back.
I'm live at 304 North Walnut. Our driveway aimed right at the playground across the street in front of the school. Sharing a lot of the concerns that have already been shared. As one of the young bucks, wanted to highlight the kiddos and the animals. With the green space there in the playground, it's brought a lot of the community from the blocks there and farther on from around town. People driving up and utilizing the community space, throwing the ball around, having the dogs run around, using the playgrounds. Would hate to see that, and maybe it would change either way, but it would. I know it brings a lot of joy to the community, folks that come around and use that space. An event center sounds great. We'd love to have something added to the town. It just doesn't seem like this space would be great, and knowing how much it would change, and definitely the traffic issue. I feel like a lot of us enjoy our quiet streets, and really just have a lot of the same concerns, and just want to highlight. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Stephanie Connell. I also live on 10th Tower Street. You wouldn't say what I wanted to say. I'll say it. I'm concerned about the utilities too. I don't have enough water pressure to water my lawn. And so I'm worried about something going in there. What's going to happen with all that old sewer pipes and water pipes, and how are they going to be able to put in those overnight places and call them suites, which I think that means there's a bathroom in every one. And anyway, so that's another thought that I thought needs to be thought about.
Thank you. Anybody else? Before I let Mr. Brady speak. Okay, oh, Pete.
I'm just, to what this lady just said, I live in 209 Castle, we've been there 4 years, and there's times in the day that I don't think we have more than maybe 30 pounds of water pressure. And the reason is the lines are pretty small and curved up that area, and we're right there. This place is right where the water is. The pressure's below it. And that's what I meant by Alan's statement. You guys need to, what are you gonna require of this guy? Sprinkler wise and things, it's gonna be a problem with water pressure. You need time to talk about that stuff.
All right. Anybody else? Going once? All right, Mr. Brady, you may speak again.
Yep, yeah, thanks for having me back up. So I heard all the comments and certainly appreciate the input. You know, as I said, when I came up, It's about, not just finance, you know, and money for me, it's about the neighborhood and what you all feel, and what you all think. And several of you said there's a lot of new information with the event center. So based on that, I guess I would ask the commission to Alan's point, to table this and come back with more information, for instance, regarding the water pressure. That school has always been there. The water's always been on, so I don't know what the Havens plans are. But certainly, they only have 2 days also to put together their plans. And I think one of the big questions that I'm hearing is around the TA, the thoroughfare access. That's a big deal when it comes to traffic. And I also heard one of the comments that the CUP provides the same potential for an event center that changing the TA would. So I think there's a lot of things that still need to be considered, more information, and if we could table it and come back, you know, I think that's beneficial for not only us as the owners of the property and the neighborhood, but also potential buyers. Okay.
I think that's a reasonable request.
Want to close the public hearing?
Yeah. Should probably do that. All right. I don't know what I'd do without her telling me what to do. It's kind of like being at home. My wife would get a kick out of it. All right, so I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
I would make a motion that we close the hearing.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second.
Graham.
Aye.
McLean.
Yes.
Calvin.
Yes.
Parks.
Yes.
Mauer. Yes. Upshaw.
Yes.
Dees. Yes.
All right. The public hearing is now closed. I would now make a motion to continue this. Go ahead.
May I say, okay.
Yeah.
I think that, first, thank you everyone for the respectful way you guys have utilized the public hearing. We are very appreciative that everyone came, because making decisions like this and not utilizing the public hearing is always a lot harder. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. Secondly, I think we have a couple options. You can defer it, table it, but honestly, I think it would also be appropriate to just either deny it for now, because due to the fact of being a new owner, a new plan, and considering that there's also options for a different public hearing to utilize it, it might just be cleaner to completely just erase this and
Right.
come back and visit it in the future when we have more set plans. So rather than to table it to continue on and on, it might just be cleaner to just either deny it or allow them to withdraw their application. That's a possibility too.
Yes.
Yes.
That was gonna be my question, because if we vote it down, it could just come back with a CUP,
Yes,
correct?
absolutely. Yes. Yep.
Or
Or
they can just ask for with.
A withdrawal. Yes, they can withdraw. Yes, absolutely. So those are also options too, rather than just tabling it to continue.
Mr. Brady, you're the applicant. Do you wish to withdraw?
I'd like time to discuss before I actually
Okay.
withdraw.
Well,
And do I have to come back into this form to withdraw, or can I do it through other communications?
Sure, you
And
can,
then you can let the public know that it's been withdrawn.
you can deny the public hearing or the rezoning request right now, and then he can withdraw with written request. So when it goes to city council for final approval, it'll just be a withdrawal of an application. So that's also a possibility. So no, you do not have to do it right here. You can do it in writing if you guys deny the request. It
And if
can
we-
also be withdrawn then.
Okay, so then if we choose to defer it,
Mhm.
then he can still withdraw. After
Yes.
we defer it.
during deferral period.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. That's also an option.
Yeah,
You will have to meet again though.
yes.
So it'll delay that another month. So you'll
Right.
have to meet again and then the council have to meet after that. So
So we're,
Even if we defer it,
if you defer it,
yeah,
if you
Okay.
defer it,
okay,
yes, you will have to, it'll just delay things another month,
okay.
which I don't know if that's an issue or not, but yes.
I lean towards deferring it
I-
as opposed to just denying it. And that gives the applicant time to decide whether he wants to withdraw it.
Yes.
And if he does, then he can withdraw it and it becomes a dead issue.
Mhm.
as opposed to disapproving it and then having to start this whole thing over, so.
If withdrawn as well, that doesn't mean that it cannot be approached in the future for rezoning request as well.
Right.
Just keep that, I want to keep that option open as well.
Yeah, I'm just kind of at this point ready to
Withdraw. Okay, with that being the case, I will make a motion to table until next month.
I'll second.
I've got a motion, a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, Jessica?
Grant,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Calvin,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Mauer. Yes. Upshaw.
Yes.
Dees. Yes. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
you want to let everyone exit?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for coming. If we're done with that particular issue.
Will there have to be another, now, how to do that? Or- Yeah,
Can you,
yeah,
I'm not sure, we have those, and I will fill you in after.
okay, just the whole timing thing, because if they end up going to CUP, that stretches that time frame back out again to 2 months, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that our group is aware of what that means to actually go to the CUP as opposed to waiting until next month to,
Yeah, it'll definitely be next.
yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Just so I'm clear before we go down. Even though it's tabled, I still have the option to withdraw.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Good to have you.
Hey, thanks, everyone.
Oh, you bet. Thank you. All right. We'll get back to the next item on the agenda this evening. And it is another public hearing for consideration and vote to approve a variance at 501 West Chippewa. Taylor Lucky is the applicant. I'll take a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Got a motion and a second?
DeGrand,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Calvin,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Mauer. Yes. Upshaw.
Yes.
Dees. Yes. Okay, so this is an application for a variance at 501 West Chippewa. Tyler Lucky is here. Ordinance 3124 states that lots of his size, which he has 3.61 acres, shall have a rear setback on the property line of at least 25 feet, setback from principal residence of 10 feet, and that the aggregate size of all permitted detached accessory structures shall not exceed the ground floor area of the primary structure, which is mainly why we are here tonight for this variance. The ground floor area of the residence is 1,976 square feet, which would be the maximum permitted size of an accessory structure. The desired size of the accessory structure by the applicant is 3,500 square feet. They did put on the application that is the desired size, but are open to compromising for smaller. Up for discussion is for the Board of Zoning Appeals. You must look at standards for a variance to determine if they apply to what the applicant is seeking. The BZA can grant variances in accordance with KSA 12-759E1 when literal enforcement of the zoning regulation would result in an unnecessary hardship and must meet the following conditions. The condition is unique to the property, no adverse effect to adjacent owners, strict application results in hardship, no adverse effects to the public health and safety, and the variance should not be in conflict with the general spirit and intent of zoning regulations. It's important to note that granting a variance is intended to remedy a unique, undue, and unnecessary hardship and is not to be approved on the basis for convenience for the property owner. LDO section 21-250 for variance states that this section establishes the procedures and conditions for variance from this ordinance standards. Approval standards are the following, and this A through I are very specific from the LDO, which what I just previously read and is summarized. The LDO also reviews the options of adding conditions and restrictions that may be imposed on variances. In approving the application for any variance, the BZA may impose additional restrictions and conditions on such approval. Restrictions and conditions may be limits on the use of property, the standards for locating the use, standards for mitigating the impact on adjoining property owners who would lose protection as a result of permitting the variance, or standards to protect the general health, safety, and welfare. All conditions imposed upon any variance shall be expressly set forth in writing with granting the variance. The application, in this case, will not be detrimental to the health, safety, and general welfare of the community. However, is not fully consistent with section 21-250 of the LDO. And I would like to point out that if strictly applying the ordinance, it would allow the applicant to still build an accessory structure, just not the desired size that they were seeking the variance for. This lot is on the larger size for lots inside city limits. Their neighborhood is mostly residential to the front of their property. However, to the south and the west of their property is open for the most part. The cemetery is on the west side and primarily vacant land is on the south side of the property. Staff interprets that granting a variance would be granting a variance out of convenience and not due to an unnecessary hardship. And this request is not interpreted, it's not interpreted by staff to be in harmony with the ordinance's purposes and intent. If you have further questions with the applicant.
Would the applicant like to speak, or any members of the general public? State your name and address, please.
Tyler Lucky, 501 West Chippewa Street.
Do you want to speak or you want to address them? Okay.
I have a quick question. Are you planning on making access off of Chippewa or Petroleus?
There would be an entrance on it'd be the entrance on the west side of that. Of the property there.
Okay.
To the shop, yeah. Better than that, yeah.
Okay. Well, they gave us a aerial picture, but I wasn't quite sure as far as where on the property you want to do it.
Gotcha. There's actually already a gate there, so that would actually be the entrance. We might have to change that soon.
Is your building, it's not commercial, it's basically for storage of your equipment to keep it indoors? And it would be, when I look at it, it would probably be behind your house.
Yeah,
Kind of see where you had some brush, where you cleaned them out, so forth.
yeah, it'd be a little farther west from that little, I think we're just talking about that little fire pit there, but yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Because the ground at the end of your lot actually is in floodplain.
Oh, gotcha.
This is what they were doing. You can see what they're here.
The blue is how.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weighted, the shop wouldn't be close to that.
Right.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Anybody else want to speak or anything?
I'm gonna speak. I'm Donnie Jones. Joseph, my daughter, Tyler, and we have a future son-in-law, but yeah, basically the reason for, they bought this house, and they cleaned up. Trimmed up all the trees. There used to be an old, I don't know if this was part of the old Kansas work building. Cause it had a big old kiln there. Metal kiln.
Oh, right.
I mean, it was huge. I mean, I think it's like 25 feet long, and we taken that out and we kind of cleaned up everything, but basically, they got like a bus for a camper and a couple of trailers. The reason for it to build the building is so they can kind of put all that stuff inside, it's not just sitting outside where you can see it from the road. So they're just, I think, where it's at, and I don't know if you want me to come up.
Oh, yeah.
I can probably show you.
Just kind of draw in there.
Yeah.
Where you want it, and I'll just pass it around.
Yeah. So kind of will be, with the setback, but over in this area. Somewhere
So
here.
you can control this. But he said he's gonna use chip wall though.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they'll do a driveway there, but see right here is where he's talking about, there's a gate.
Oh, okay.
So he was, and there's already, kind of an access, but, clean up the football or whatever. But basically have access from there and, they may extend that down. But, maybe that's where it would be at. I think a little bit darker. And I mean, really kind of where this is at, I mean, I think that they're just, cleaning it up, we're not gonna hurt. There's no one around them. And to the left, there's just the old rundown campus work building anyway, so. They're just trying to make the neighborhood a little bit nicer and stuff like that, so. About it. Thank you.
Did you get any letters from the
No,
public?
there's no.
Okay. Then if there's no one else that would like to speak, if there's no one else that'd like to speak, I'd take a motion to close the public hearing.
I would make a motion that we close.
I'll say.
Okay, got a motion in a second.
DeGrand,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Calvin,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Mallard, yes, Upshaw.
Yes.
Leeds, yes.
All right, discussion time.
Well, I've been down here and I've looked around, as you can see from this picture that's going around, to the west of Petroleus is that old abandoned Kansas Ironworks building that's kind of almost looks like it's ready to fall down. Basically, the location of the vehicle, location of the property and where the building structure would be built. And the fact that the end of their lot to the south is floodplain and is basically the last in the city limits. And the lack of neighbors. Personally, I can't see anything wrong with the application, of building what they want to build. A little oversized building.
I'm in agreement. Due to the floodplain behind it, and it's mainly just road crop back further past the trees. I mean, it's not gonna hinder anybody, any future residents or anything else.
My only concern is that if we allow this for him,
Set a precedent.
set a precedent.
Right.
That there's other possible lots in the city, including out by Lake Viola, that have enough ground that they could want a bigger building than the regulations allow.
Yeah.
And that creates, in my opinion, that creates a problem for us going forward.
I think that's my concern too, and then especially because it's not really creating a hardship and it's not consistent with the LDO, then my concern would be additional applicants in the future and having to.
Yeah.
I thought of that, set the precedent, but in a lot of situations, it's a parcel by parcel difference. I mean, if somebody just happens to own 3 acres of just flat ground and people living all around all directions. But in my opinion, in this case, it's not gonna be detrimental to anybody in the area.
And my feeling, that is why there is a board for discussions like this, that we can make a variance. That it's a unique situation and a unique part of the city. And quite honestly, there's hardly anybody even going to see the building after it's built.
Because in one way. I mean, some people can consider that dead property. I mean, it's a shame to own that much, but not be able to use it.
So just to reiterate, they can build a building the exact same size as their house, which is
1900.
compared to what other lots in town is still quite larger. Because this typical standard for an accessory building caps at 900 square feet. But because of their lot size, they are allowed to go up greater than, which is the 1,976. So what you're looking to approve is double the size of their house. So based on that precedent you set, if you look on your map directly across the wall, there is a lot with a house that is larger than a lot of lots. At that point, you are then setting a precedent that they come back to you, that potential new owner comes to you and says, they built this house, this accessory structure, double the size of their house. We would also like to approach and build double what we're allowed to build, or so on and so forth. So yes, I understand you're taking lot size into consideration, but if you use it as a ratio and you put that across the entire community, you are then setting a precedent that any homeowner comes to you and says, based on this, I would like to build, the regulations say I can build up to 900, I'd like to build 1,200 square feet. And their lot it might fit with required setbacks, but it's not what the LDO is allowing. And so then you set a precedent that every time someone comes to me for a permit, I'm coming to you saying, I have to allow a variance because when we do one, we have to do all. So that's just the direction to keep in mind.
And that size requirement, that's aggregate, right? So that would be the only extra building that would be allowed.
Correct. And I think they have some smaller ones that they were willing to remove off the property.
Anybody else? Further discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion. They want a motion.
I move to approve the variance request at 501 West Chippewa to permit the construction of a 3,500 square feet accessory structure. Either lucky applicant.
I would second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote.
I do have a question, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So like it says, not to be approved based on convenience for property owner, that's in the zoning. So is this a conditional use? How is this worded? So we're not we've already talked about precedent, I get that part. But how do we word it that we're not going against what I know they're asking permission to go against what it says.
Right.
But there's a few statements in here that we are changing. So that's in essence what we're voting on.
You're voting to approve a variance from what the regulations say.
The variance, okay. Okay, yeah, okay,
That's what the board's for.
yeah, I just making sure I was reading it right.
I've got a motion and a second. You good now, Andy?
I am, thank
Okay,
you.
good. All right, Jessica,
DeGrand,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Calvin,
No.
Parks,
No.
Mauer,
No.
Upshaw,
No.
Dees.
No.
Motion does not carry.
Sorry. But you are to be commended on how well you've cleaned up that property. You guys have done an amazing job.
So they can still build a building, it just has to be.
It has to be, yeah, size of their house, square footage of their house, yeah.
One more question then. Let's say this. Say we add on to the house,
That's building code, so.
right, and then come back with
Then
the size of the house.
Technically, now,
You're good.
technically, you don't have to come back, because you
So,
can,
let's say they do an addition.
Yeah.
Add on the square footage that they want, and then they can build the size of that house. That
you
really-
can build a building the size of the house. Yeah.
we'll just have to look at lot coverage percentage, so other than that, yeah,
You know what I mean, with
yeah, you've got.
almost 4 acres. I
Yeah.
think this is a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure he has some phone numbers.
Great. All right. Staff's time now.
Fun stuff time.
Yeah, fun stuff.
So we are at 73 building permits for the year. Building inspector, Randy, myself. On March 8th, we did a substantial completion walkthrough for the ball fields. So they are wrapping up all those final, items to get that ready for the kids to go for sports. You know, people are ready. Casey's interior finishings have started. They still need to install their gas pumps. Lake Mary, in their new addition, they have started pouring their concrete footings. And I did want to note that if you haven't driven by Paola Crossings, they have started to lay asphalt, so we are moving along. The April Planning Commission meeting, we are going to do, an LDO tiny homes public hearing, so Jenna's just gonna jump in all these public hearings.
Like it every time.
So, and then March City Council, they did approve the CUP that you guys recommended from the February meeting, for the single family attached home. They have started the process for dangerous structures at 115 West Wea, which is commonly known as the old Chipman Liquor Building, and then also 809 South Silver. And also, the fire department got with Randy and they are doing, a false fire alarm fee now. So we had 2 entities in town that time and time again, we're having too many false alarms, so they'll get 3 freebies, so to speak, and then after that, they have to start paying, so.
Fire false alarm.
We had, this is just from 2 entities in town.
Yeah.
Over $17,000 that we have had to pay out in 1 year because of false alarms,
Yeah.
repeated false alarms, so.
Yeah.
So if they can,
How do you balance that? 'Cause like at our building, if the internet goes out, our alarm goes off.
There is a clause in there for
Okay.
appeals and act of God and things like that, yes.
So many of those were us.
Oh, you'll find out on the next one.
Do you guys have any questions for us? Anything?
I don't think I do.
Okay.
On the ball fields, was it discussed later about the ADA parking?
Public Works, we've been down there a lot, going back and forth on the good.
The best option.
Yeah, the best option. So they are working, they have a plan and they are installing, ADA parking.
Okay.
And it'll be hard surfaced and it'll have direct access to the main entrance of the building or the fields, so.
Okay, well, I saw it was on your update, so I drove by this today and saw that, so I didn't know Mammoth was gone.
Mammoth does not do the ADA parking work, it's city.
Okay.
Yep.
What's the status of the gas station on Silver? It's been in construction for a couple of
They
years.
got their,
Well, they tried, actually. They applied, but they still have to do, building and fire inspections, so. You know, Keith drives by and checks in on them and they just keep saying, oh, it'll be soon. So,
Unfortunately, I think the Casey's that was built from the ground up will be open before that one. Yeah.
Is there an end date for Casey's, like the projected?
they do have a substantial completion date and I was trying to remember, it is fast approaching. So, yeah,
Looks nice.
yep.
The building, that it, what used to be the Southern Eats,
Mhm.
that I saw that, is that like still for sale?
It's for sale, yeah. Yeah, so if you know anyone looking to open a business.
Restaurant slash catering,
There you go.
really small in this space. I was curious about the building next to Papa C's that's fallen in.
That's 809 South Silver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that.
So. Public hearing for that for council is in May.
I'd like awful good city parking for a ball field.
That's good. That's good.
It might make Papa C's good parking, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Is Grandstand planning to rebuild? I saw them clearing stuff out yesterday.
They are working through things with their insurance company to see which direction they're gonna have to go.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Hopefully they reopen.
Yeah, cool update. We had a kickoff meeting recently for the new updates at the pool. If you guys recall, the mechanical rooms, which houses the filters, the chemical pumps and such, it will be completed renovation prior to opening in the summer. We'll have our summer season, it'll close, and then all the fun stuff that you can see, that everyone cares about. It will start at the close of the season, so. They did select, WTI. Westport Pools, yeah, is who will be completing that project.
The mechanical room project.
Yes. Sorry.
All right. Anybody have anything else?
Make a motion to close.
Oh, we got a motion. Second.
Yes.
McLean.
Yes.
Gowan.
Yes.
Parks.
Yes.
Sauer. Upshaw.
Yes.
Thank you.